August is turning out to be a huge month for you because
yes.
aren't both of your films, Raw Cut and Mining for Ruby, they're becoming available in August?
Exactly. So Mining for Ruby is VOD, digital, all platforms, August 1st. The same August 1st, Raw Cut is having its theatrical run, and then August 5th, it's coming out VOD, digital, and it's having its worldwide release.
Wow.
So it's very exciting.
What are your thoughts on VOD? Because I would think for the independent filmmaker, it's kind of a godsend in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really grateful. I mean, this idea that as an artist, being able to make make these great, spectacular art project and then actually make a profit for our investors is exactly that. It's an absolute godsend because of these outlets and all of these potential revenue streams, then we're able to recoup the investment and the hurdle for our investors, and then we get to make the next one, so on and so forth.
What about the hurdle of setting an independent film up nowadays? Is that just as difficult as it's always been?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started in this business, I started on the other side of the camera, and so from that vantage, it seems like it was a totally different world. It seemed that there were a lot more, studio projects being made, with studio money, and so I would say, in a way, without knowing firsthand, because it seems that maybe in a way it was harder to be an independent filmmaker back then because the barrier to entry was so much higher that there weren't 10 years ago there wasn't the option of a guy getting a 4K Blackmagic camera for $2,000
right.
and shooting a film so and there weren't things like this distributor, which is a very interesting thing that I've just been recently hip to for independent filmmakers, where they can actually distribute their own films on all these platforms. Of course, the question of advertising and publicity come up, because you still have to drive eyes there, but I think that in a way this is the golden age for independent filmmakers, as long as you have a good story. Like you have to,
right.
You can't ask people to give an hour and a half of their time and, not, back it with some, something interesting that'll, have them thinking, or, some, pretty pictures of some pretty people. So,
you started as an actress, as you said, and did some big movies and were working with great directors on really interesting sets.
Yeah.
But did you always have an eye towards, did you always feel a comfort with storytelling and have an eye towards directing?
Oh, I have a younger brother, and, I was like 10 and he was 4. And I would dress him up, and I would, direct him in different things, it was always in me, like, to do this. I just, kind of, took a few twists and turns getting here, but yeah, it was definitely something that I was very interested in. When I was working as an actress full time, it was something that I actively did. Was I would pay attention to the director. I'd go introduce myself to the cinematographer. Talk to the gaffer, talk to the grip, talk to the wardrobe person. Like just really figure out like how is this machine operating? Like how does this all work? And at first, like when I first segued out of acting, I got into producing. I produced a few things, and I thought that maybe that was what I was interested in. But like producing is although fulfilling because you get to be so involved in every aspect of production. It's still the director's creative vision that lives inside of me. Like it's when I read a script, I'm like, oh, I see exactly how how these characters are going to live out, and and how to get from point A to point B, and you create that reality. And the producers defer to the director to do that, and I happily accept that role. Like I just I delight in it, and just grateful every day that I get to do it.
Well, I mean, these two movies, Raw Cut and Mining for Ruby, couldn't be more different. So I'm wondering, the more you direct, are you getting a sense of what characterizes your particular voice as a director, or what you're preoccupied with, or your personality as a filmmaker?
Right. Well, I mean, I think that I definitely I noticed the thing, we have a few features that are in development right now, and I've noticed that the through line is that there's always strong female protagonists in it, or antagonists, as the case may be. There's a very there's my visual style is I would say very cinematic. Like I tend to favor something that harkens back to the golden age of filmmaking. The big Hollywood films of the 50s and the 60s, and just I think that as far as a narrative, I'm just interested in telling unique stories, or stories that haven't been told, or have a sort of a twist to it. Leave people thinking or questioning, and there's definitely that in Raw Cut, where without giving away too much, it just the morality play there is we make assumptions on people and situations based on very superficial evidence, and then we go with that, and but if we really pay attention to things or delve deeper, the truth is often right there in front of you. And so and then that also exists in Mining for Ruby. You have this ecological conversation that's happening that it's very heated and people are very passionate about it in Alaska, and there's two very strong sides to it. Is one is that commerce and the economy and the money that these things generate help support infrastructure and build hospitals and pay for schools and on the other hand, there is a potential for it to be dangerous, and then just getting people to question are things worth it? If they're worth it, at least know the origins of the things that you seek, and then also the other question that Mining for Ruby brings up is that Machiavellian conversation. Is that the ends justify the means? Is it if you lie in order to get your point across, is it okay? Because and if the cause is correct, and then that being a subjective statement in itself, it's how can one determine if their cause is correct? So I mean, I think that those are sort of the big through lines that exist between the two works, even though visually and as far as genre they're so different.
Well, I love that. I love everything that you're saying, because it's something that I always echo whenever, for instance, when I read good criticism. I mean, a good critic is like a good filmmaker in that they know that the real meat of a movie isn't necessarily plot. It's, there's what the movie's about, but then there's what the movie's really about. And what it's really about is what you're talking about right now. And I guess that would be, akin to something like a theme, that you have something you want to express beyond, incident A, incident B.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that, as my body of work grows, I think that these themes will become, they'll be more evident, I think, because as I was looking at the screenplays that we recently auctioned, and I was starting to detect this pattern of creating questions in the audience's mind, like leaving them thinking about something, like giving them the and I think that both of these films also do the other thing as well. It's like you get like the not to say bubblegum experience, but you get like the fulfilling thing of like going to see a movie and having like a clear story with like the logical through line, beginning, middle, and end. Okay, that's your these are the characters, and this is the story that they go through. But then at the end, after they've left the movie theater or hit the next thing in their Netflix queue, there's some questions. It could be positive or negative, and as long as there's some sort of reaction to it, I would feel very happy and feel like, okay, so people are getting something more out of it than their this 90 minutes.
Right. How conscious are you when you're doing a movie like Raw Cut? How conscious are you of kind of playing with the expectations of genre?
Well, I mean, so Raw Cut was so exciting because it's sort of this meta conversation. It was really like a reflection back onto society about like our obsession with celebrity and this. I want to touch on this conversation of narcissism and right now we live in this time of where we're just so self-photographed and we're filming everything and documenting everything, and that's become the new norm, the new standard. And so there is this sort of made a conversation, but with this thriller backbone. Right, so I knew that it wasn't going to be a horror film, like as far as the genre, because although what happens is horrific and the way these people are is horrific, but it's not and there's no Freddy Krueger or Jason coming out of the woods, right? It's people behaving badly, and so I wanted to tie in. I wanted to tie that in, the thriller, the conversation. Yeah, I don't know if your audience can hear the sirens in the background.
We're talking about a thriller. Yeah,
right, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's the day in a life in Los Angeles.
But you being a big fan of 50s and 60s and classic cinema like that, and doing a kind of a twist on the genre thriller like this, what role did a kind of a Hitchcockian approach play into what you were doing? Any at all?
Well, I mean, a lot. I mean, everything from the music to the pacing to the suggested action. Like there's as intense as the film is, there's very little that is shown, and I think that that's something that Alfred Hitchcock was a master of. When he made Psycho, people were horrified. I mean, they were so scared, and everything, the scary, the horror scene transpires, behind, an opaque curtain. right? She's behind an opaque shower curtain. I mean, you don't see like, you know, the knife cutting in and, you know, stabbing the, you know, the back
right.
with the organs flying out. None of that. And so, yeah, I mean, Alfred Hitchcock's work was definitely a major influence, you know, visually, as far as the pace, as far as, you know, the characters, as far as, you know, even like when I was talking to the makeup artist, even that, like, you know, capturing sort of that look in the people, like, you know that Adam has like a, you know, a very 50s look about him. Like they both, like all the people are sort of like harken back to another time. And I'd say like Stephanie has, you know, maybe the most modern edge to her, you know, but the three other characters very, like, you know, very much, I feel could have been easily transplanted as is into any of those films. Right.
Rock Cut, I believe, takes place in a cabin in Wyoming. I think it's Wyoming, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then Mining for Ruby is set in Alaska.
Right.
So,
yeah. See, there's another through line, like, you know, these remote places, and, you know, people being drawn to. But
I want to know from you. I want to know from you, how important is it to kind of establish a sense of place, and you know, if that is a consideration, what are your conversations like with your cinematographer to do that?
Well, I mean, it's a major consideration. I mean, like location for me is, you know, as much of the character as anything. You know, I'm still looking for like an LA story to tell. You know, and I just feel that so many of great stories have already been told here. But yeah, with the cinematographer, you know, it's you know, I worked with two different people on one for Rock Cut and one for Mining for Ruby, and both of them were extremely skilled, and both AFI fellows, and they, the conversations tend to be, I have a particular aesthetic image, like I have this idea of how I want it to look and feel, and you know, I guess it's sort of like an obtuse way of answering your question because it's sort of a two-prong. The location for me is always part of it. It's one of the characters of the film, and to working with the cinematographer, it's showing that place in its greatest glory. Like people, we did a special screening of Mining for Ruby in Fairbanks, Alaska, and you know, people who were watching it at first were stunned. They're like, "This looks so beautiful. Thank you for showing, you know, Fairbanks in this light. Like this is how we know and love the city." And I feel like I did the same thing with Wyoming, you know, with the mountainscapes and the lakes, and you know, just, you know, getting a feel of just how beautiful it is. You know, and how beautiful nature is, and how beautiful this, you know, the United States is. And it really occurred to me how beautiful the United States was when I did a cross-country trip, and just, you know, going, and you know, living in LA, you kind of, you know, forget that you get, you know, in this, you know, city grind, and go out there and just, it's spectacular. So that's really what I want to be shown in the films, and I feel like the cinematographers were both able to, you know, give that. You know, they were able to give the audience a slice of that, you know, a momentary experience of what what those places have to offer.
Yeah. And my last directing question for you. You're working with some great cast members. You've got great cast assembled for both of these films. Is a big trick of directing being able to kind of change up what your approach to satisfy whatever the particular actor's needs are? I mean, maybe Billy Zane has a different needs from his director than one of your other actors do. Is that a challenge?
Actors are people, and just like any person, every person's different. So yeah, I mean, I had some actors who really really want 100% of the director's attention, and they need that. They need, after each take, a sort of, a tenderness. And then I've worked with other actors who just, we've had a conversation, prior to coming on set, and they know what the arc of the film is and the vision of the film is, and then they want to go on there and just do it, and just know that I'm looking out for them if they push it too far. But otherwise, they just want to do their job, and and I don't have a preference. I think that I have the utmost respect for that, because I know how hard it is, to fully surrender over and just, standing there in front of everybody. But all the actors were such a delight to work with, and one of the biggest surprises and the most pleasant people to work with was Misha Barton. She was in Mining for Ruby, and just astounding. She is the most professional actor. I mean, she had you completely. I mean, just knew her material, was on her mark. I mean, just asked thoughtful, necessary questions. Did the work. I mean, the woman is very, very talented. I think that she is only limited by the material that comes her way. I think that she could stand up against any actress in the world. I'm a huge fan, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to work with her.